Imagine this for a second. You dedicate your entire life to being the opening act for the biggest headliner in history.
Okay.
You live out in the wilderness, you're eating locusts, so the whole deal. You are all in. But then, right when the main show starts, you don't get a front row seat. You get a prison cell.
And that, right there, is the very human crisis of John the Baptist. We're doing a deep dive into Matthew chapter 11 to really understand this moment of doubt from, well, one of the greatest figures in the sources.
Yeah, our mission here is to unpack how John, sitting in this dungeon, has to deal with his expectations versus the reality of Jesus' ministry.
And to really get the weight of this, we have to remember John's credentials. I mean, this wasn't just some random guy. He's from a priestly family, filled with the Holy Spirit from the womb.
He was the real deal. Lived this incredibly intense Nazirite-style life. No wine. The sources model him after Elijah, the prophet of fire and judgment.
Exactly. That was his brand. He preached that the Messiah would come with a winnowing fork to separate the wheat from the chaff. He was expecting fire.
But instead, John's in prison for, a righteous rebuke of a ruler, and he starts hearing reports about what Jesus is doing.
And it's not that. Jesus isn't toppling Herod. He's having dinner with tax collectors.
So the reality just doesn't line up with the prophecy John was banking on, which I think makes his question so understandable. He sends his guys to ask Jesus, "Are you the one, or should we expect someone else?"
It's so blunt. I mean, this is the man who baptized Jesus. But what the sources show us here is that real faith can include honest questions. He's not losing faith. He's seeking clarity.
And Jesus' response is it's fascinating. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't shame him for doubting.
Not at all. He just points to the data. He tells John's disciples, go back and report what you hear and see.
The blind receive sight, the lame walk.
Lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, all of it.
He's quoting the prophet Isaiah. He's speaking John's language, essentially saying, look, I am doing the work of the Messiah, just maybe not with the fire you are expecting.
Precisely. It's restoration, not retribution. And then he does something really important. He turns to the crowd to make sure they don't start disrespecting John.
Right. He asks them, what did you go out to the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? Like, did you think he was some flimsy guy who just bends with public opinion?
No. And then he confirms John's status. He says, among those born of women, no one has arisen greater than John the Baptist.
Which is a huge statement. But then comes the twist that always trips people up. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he.
Yeah, and this isn't about John's personal holiness. He wins that contest. It's about his position in history, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Well, John is standing at the very end of the Old Covenant. He sees the Messiah arriving, but he doesn't get to see the cross or the resurrection.
So even the least believer on this side of the cross has a vantage point, a perspective of grace that even the great John the Baptist didn't have.
That's it, exactly. But Jesus isn't finished. He then launches into this little parable about children in the marketplace.
Yeah, this critique of the generation. He says they're like kids who won't play any game you suggest.
Right. We played the flute, a happy song, and you didn't dance. We sang a dirge, a sad song, and you didn't mourn. You can't please them.
It's a perfect analogy. John came fasting, being all serious like a dirge, and they said
it's a demon.
That Jesus comes eating and drinking, playing the flute, and they call him a glutton and a drunkard.
You just can't win. They rejected the asceticism and they rejected the grace. The problem wasn't the messenger's style. The problem was the message.
But the last line says it all. Wisdom is justified by her deeds. The results, the actual changed lives, speak for themselves.
It's a good reminder that God's plan moves forward, even when we don't get the method.
So if you're looking for a takeaway here, maybe it's that. When the big picture seems confusing, look for the small evidence. Where in your own world can you see, the blind seeing or the lame walking?
That's the application. Focus on the evidence of grace, not just the fire you might be expecting.
And I'll leave you with this to think about. If John was the greatest human ever born, but the least in the kingdom is greater, what does that say about your potential, your status, right here and now? Thanks for diving in with us.